This is going to be taking a look at the artifact selector tier list. We have 4 artifact selectors in our Epic Dash this year. The first thing to mention is that your artifact picks are going to depend very heavily on what characters you own, because a lot of these artifacts are only really used on ML5s. So if you're in a situation where you're picking up an artifact and you don't own the character that uses it, maybe consider picking up a different artifact, even one that's a lower tier, because you want to be able to use your artifact. No point in picking up something that you can't use. So that is my quick little disclaimer. And then also the ones not available is Aki, Riza, Tactical Architect Coley, Estelle, Ivana, and Oddbade Ludwig artifacts. So let's get started. S tier, these artifacts have multiple good users, and they also kind of need, well, not kind of, they need limit breaks. Holy Sacrifice, the first one, only works at plus 30 consistently. It is a % chance to revive your character when they die, so there is a chance that it just, nothing happens. You basically don't have an artifact if it's not plus 30 sometimes. This is really good on a lot of different knights, because knights with really annoying like passive effects, so something like Mort that just shuts down counterattacks, or Eruel who has like her built-in damage share, and people sometimes want to target her out, or she just takes a lot of damage from the damage share in general. Or somebody like Nodos, who is not an annoying passive effect, he is a massive threat to kill your entire team, gets focused down pretty often too. So this artifact can be used for knights even with like different types or different like roles. Having one, I would say, is really important. If you're a newer player, then maybe get like one copy and then start like spreading your artifact pool. If you're like a veteran player who has, let's just say, every single artifact listed here already, then maybe look to max out a Holy Sacrifice. Having one maxed is really nice these days. And then even, so one argument I see for new players, actually I'll mention now, is that people say like, oh, you need plus 30 for it to work, you shouldn't get it. You should get started, because if you say that every single time an artifact comes around, you're never going to max out your Holy Sacrifice, you might as well get a single copy at least right now. And it's also available in the episode 1 selector as well. So next up is Bird's Eye View. This artifact is for Soul Weavers, gives you souls after using it on attack skill. It is really good because it gives you up to 20 souls. You don't need it maxed, but you definitely want it with at least a few limit breaks, so that even if you're running like an opener Soul Weaver, you would press your button and then get enough souls to get 20 souls and soul burn. So something like Brigitte, who uses this, you need plus 27. Other characters, you can probably get away with a little bit lower. This is just used on a bunch of different characters really well. Because it gives you pretty good offensive tempo, especially in something like Guild War. Scales Tori is being run a decent amount, because you can just press S3 with Scales, and it doesn't matter whether or not your Tori proc Cascade, you have 20 souls for a soul burn. So it's especially nice in controlled situations, I think, where you can, you don't need a defensive artifact and you just end up going for a free soul burn instead. This is one of my favorite artifacts, and it's definitely worth getting. So now for A tier. These are all either have multiple good users, and I think they have good lasting power, or it's just really good for one specific hero. Something like Lethal Whispers is for Setsuka. This goes on Setsuka. Setsuka is also available in the other selector, which is why I have it so high. Usually I have it a little bit lower. Because you're guaranteed to get your Setsuka and you're guaranteed to get this artifact, you should get a copy of this artifact for your Setsuka. It really is that simple. It's just the best evasion artifact for her. Thorn of the Blue Rose, 10 free souls at the start of combat, and then also increases the damage of your soul burns really high. The main users of this are Disciplinary Prefect Aria and Dark Corvus, who are both ML5s, but I think the effect on this is really flexible, because any warrior with a high damage soul burn is going to be able to use this. If they ever buff other characters or release new characters, they'll be able to use this. Some people like to run a Destro Hua Young with Soulburn S3 instantly, and like Guild Wars sometimes, she can also use this for that tech. So really nice artifact. I think soul generation artifacts in general are just really strong. And then there's Sacred Scythe. This is mainly used on Lone Crescent Bologna, and also Bystander Hua Young. One of these being a lot better than the other, of course. Sacred Scythe, it's also a pretty general effect. Any attack scaling bruiser will be able to use this pretty decently, I think. But as I mentioned, those two are really the only users right now, so if you're missing both of them, this is, I think, one of the ones you could consider dropping for one of the lower ones. And then there is Idol's Chair. So Idol's Chair, Soul Weaver artifact, gives your highest attack ally CR push when you are attacked. This is really nice for Ruel, because Ruel gets hit a lot. She is a kind of a bit of a threat to kill, otherwise she can just make one unit really annoying to kill. So this ends up giving you a lot of tempo. Even in the situation where Ruel is just by herself, if she's the last one left, she is the high attack ally. She will get a bunch of CR push from this. Really strong. Other Soul Weavers can use this too, like Infinite Horizon Acades. There's a bunch of anti-cleave techs you could run with this because of the CR push. I think it's just a really good artifact. Crown of Glory. So Crown of Glory is, I would say, good on a lot of characters, but it's typically only really used on one, and that one character does rotate around a little bit. Because right now it's Bossarunka. We'll have to see like how that shakes out after Fumir stays a bit longer, but I think she'll still be solid. Bossarunka was using it now. Before, Empyrean Elnav was using it. The 20% AoE damage reduction is just really nice. I find myself moving it around sometimes for Guild War just to like tank a really high damage S3. Like I'll move it back onto Imperial Elnav sometimes to tank a Ross S3, for example. I think it's just a great artifact. Also works really well into Freerin. Sometimes you'll find yourself using LRK or something on this artifact. Pretty nice. And also, I see this, it's kind of annoying, I haven't actually lost to it yet, but people will run this artifact for like cheese defenses in Arena, because people will hit you with an AoE and then you lose the souls and you can't soul burn for your cleave setup suddenly. These are also A tier, so the position of this, do not think that these are any worse than the artifacts up here. It's just, Renewed Will probably belongs like over here. I didn't want to put Swordstorm above everything else, so that's why this position is a little bit awkward. The Renewed Will is only really used on one character at a time because it needs plus 30 to function. You kind of cycle this around based on whoever you're using. It's generally Briar Witch Assyria. Lidica also uses this super well, but that has the separate issue of having them both geared. So I would say this is one that's decent to get limit breaks in, especially if you like the cleave. And then Sword Art Storm, Secret Art Sword Storm, something like that. I never remember the name of this thing. It gives you a bunch of CR push and attack buff whenever somebody uses a non-attack skill. The CR push is crazy. It's 24% CR push, which is absolutely ridiculous. Most things cap at 20. So this artifact is used on Celine, and then sometimes it can get used on stuff like School Nurse Yolha for the CR push as well. It's got a pretty solid effect. Just any sort of like disruptor can use it pretty well. And it sticks around like pretty often for fast. Sometimes like a fast unit will use it. Back when Spirit Eye Celine was built like super fast, she would use it, or stuff like that. So pretty decent to start getting some limit breaks into as well, or pick up a single copy of just to get started. So then B tier. These artifacts are all good, it's just really unit dependent, because, yeah, if you don't have the characters, you might not want to use these. Awakened Leaf. This one's actually one of the ones I like a bit more, because you mainly use this on Sea Phantom Politis, but other characters can use it too. Pirate Captain Flan, the cleave, has gotten, or like the opener version has gotten pretty common. She uses Renewed Will mostly, but if you don't have a max Renewed Will, you can pick up a copy of Awakened Leaf to use on her as a secondary option. It gives you a CR push to your backline after you go. Or after a... I think it's after a non-attack skill. I actually don't 100% remember what the effect is off the top of my head, because I do not use this artifact very often. After using a non-attack skill, yeah, put CR pushes the back ally. I've seen people use this on Oddbait Ludwig too, but I think that's mostly cheese tech. Violet Talisman, this artifact, I wouldn't say it necessarily needs plus 30, but it does benefit heavily from plus 30, because you mainly use this on Rihanna and Luciella. And it's very good on her, because when you get to 3 turns, you will hit 100% evasion, which is pretty sick. And that does make it sound like you kind of need plus 30 on it, but it needs you to take a third turn anyways before you can get the max stacks on it, which you do pretty fast because it's an extra turn. The reason even so RNL is very, very good. The reason this isn't up here for best slot for an S tier hero is because she has alternatives. Like, you can get away with just using a different evasion artifact or like a damage artifact. Like, she has like a bunch of different builds. There's so many different ways to like build her or use her for however you want to use her that I don't think this is really like, oh, you need this or you're kind of trolling. So I think it's fine. And then Double-Edged the Crescent, this is another evasion artifact. It does give you evasion at the very start, unlike by a Talisman. This one has you chance to counterattack after you dodge. Mainly used on Arbiter Vildred. Some of these evasion artifacts you can say like they'll have potential for future evasion units, but for now this is just pretty much an Arbiter Vildred artifact. And Arbiter Vildred also does have other builds, though his other builds can run on Summer Photogenic, which hopefully is getting a rerun soon. But this can be used if you're running a riposte Arbiter Vildred or a counter one. It's just kind of hard to get riposte. Anyways, Elber's Ritual Sword. This artifact usage goes up and down sometimes. Right now it's not super hot. It's used on Monarch of the Swordless area, and that's the only user. Because some other units that you would think use this just aren't good enough really to warrant it. So if you have Monarch of the Swordless area, you can pick this up. It gives you a chance to counter when your ally attacks are, or when your allies are attacked, and she'll double that chance. So pretty sick for her. Goblet of Oath. This can be pretty good on Swift Flagbearer Sigret. She has other options like her personal artifact. The artifact needs plus 30 for consistency, or you might just somehow be missing it. This is a good alternative. Bastion of Hope. This is more of like a tech artifact. You use this on knights. Gives you a barrier and immunity plus the unit in the back barrier and immunity. So you can use this on stuff like Christie, who is already protecting the back unit, or just any knight that doesn't, where you don't have some sort of other defensive artifact that you want to protect them. You can use this in Guild War, more controlled situations for like buff stacking, that sort of thing. It's a pretty nice artifact to have at least one copy of, I think, and I probably plan on maxing mine out. Merciless Glutton. This is used on Sister Teo. It's really, really nice for him. One thing is, if you mainly use Teo in Guild War, he doesn't really need it there. I don't think your comps really need a CR push. Like, I don't think it matters. So you can get away with any damage artifact probably in Guild War, but for something like RTA, you're definitely going to want to have the CR push for your cleave setups. And then Umbral Keystone. So this artifact is technically explicitly worse than Fumir Artifact. However, Fumir Artifact needs plus 30. So no one's going to have a billion copies of that. Some people might not even have one max copy of that. And so this artifact maintains its usage. It gives you a CR push after 2 allied turns are taken. So it can give you, like, it's basically like a self-bridging artifact and also gives a bit of effectiveness. Abyssal Crown. This usage also goes up and down. Its usage honestly has been going down, down, down for the past couple of years. But with Weakening Set coming out and it actually buffing Abyssal Crown's proc chances, maybe there's some potential for it again. It's used on like Parsetti maybe, or maybe a tank Politis, but I would say neither are like super common builds, with Poly just not being a common pick in general. But this is like, it's okay. Windrider, I think, is a backup artifact, because Windrider is outclassed by some other artifacts. Largely some are photogenic, but this is a kind of a similar situation where people aren't going to have a billion summer photogenics. So, with that in mind, Windrider is still really nice to have, just because you can just use it as like, oh, I ran out of artifacts, we're going to use this, pretty much, and it's still good. So now, these artifacts are all pretty niche in their usage. They're not bad, it's just, I would say, lower priority than the ones above. Durandal is nice for Designer Lilibet. Some setups with Lionheart Sirmia use it. It's just not super high usage, so it's down here. CR push when you get hit for warriors. Alexa's Basket, attack buff with a chance for greater attack buff. A lot of units self-attack buff already, but the greater attack buff can be nice in certain cases. Doctor's Bag, full cleanse when you use or one debuff cleanse on all allies when you use an on-attack skill. This can be nice, especially in controlled situations on BDOM or ROM for Guild War. just characters that don't have an innate cleanse that benefit a lot from it. Unseen Observer, it gives you souls and CR push after using an on-attack skill. Great on Oddbade Ludwig, because not everyone's going to have a maxed Oddbade orb, so you can get away with just using Unseen Observer for the most part as a more consistent option. Broken Will of the Priest, mostly cheese tech. This used to be a needs plus 30 artifact. I think the way that it is used right now, not necessarily. Because right now it is used on Nodos to kind of like mess with evasion people. Evasion value is past 20% these days, so it doesn't really matter if it's not maxed. Of course, more limit breaks are nice, but it's not like needs plus 30. And then this one, Golden Rose, is similar to Sigurd's, except it's damage instead of attack buff. Its users just don't exist right now. Like, its users overlap with Durandal, but no one's really using this artifact right now, unfortunately. Shepherd also has the issue of its users not being good, so it's way down here. Another evasion artifact, it's damage boost instead of counter, but Arbiter Vildred benefits a lot more from the counter compared to just some damage boost. Maybe this will like pop back up if more units are released or buffed that use this artifact, but for now it is down here. Alabastron is just a really high effectiveness thief artifact that also debuffs. It is, of course, niche tech, but the tech is that if you're F-stacking on a thief, then this can be really nice because it's a free 35 effectiveness, and the debuffs can be pretty annoying, especially if you land Death Break. Tiberius 2 super niche, really, like, it's really for Amaki if you're still, like, if you just want to finish this off. It needs plus 30 for consistency. If you don't mind the consistency, you can just grab one copy. Then at the bottom, we have some low prio PvE artifacts. So I don't think these are all super important because the way PvE is like set up these days, you really don't need these. We have so much like infinite damage at this point. And I would get probably everything B tier and up, and some of the C tier stuff depending on what you own before you even look at these, unless you just really don't care about the ones up here. Etica Scepter is used on either Ball and Sezin or Tenebria for Earth Expedition. It is specifically used for cycling their skills faster so they land debuffs more consistently. We kind of already have a good bit of debuff, like, we got massive buffs to their debuff consistency recently because they both got pushed to 100% defense break and speed down chances, and there's ignore 15% now. So you could theoretically just make your ball faster, and with you not needing a debuffer in the front as well, which before was a ceiling, you can run it on damage threat, and you might just have enough damage consistently to kill the boss even without Etica Scepter. So I don't think it's super important, it's just kind of nice to have. Then there's Bloodstone. This is only really used on Kana for Earth Expedition. Another thing with Expedition is it's only here half the time now, and I've been begging them to make it permanently, but until that happens, it's only here half the time. You don't really need Kana to kill these days either. Same thing with Imprint Circuit. If you have the ignore 15% node, you have Ball plus Mercedes plus Charlotte or Frieren in the front. Mascot Hazel is good enough for you to kill everything. Like, you don't need Kana. Her damage, because you think about the old comp, it was a tank in the front and then 3 DPS units. Well, now you have 3 DPS units, with Charlotte being the 3rd DPS, and then you have your healer. So you don't need this, really. It's not nearly as high priority anymore, even if you want the one-shot Earth Expedition. And this is just 3 different healing artifacts that have various amounts of usage. I think Touch of Rekos really shines in Ancient Inheritance, which isn't like super important content, but in general, there's a lot of places, like even if you're doing like a lower end Hall of Trials run, or just anywhere you need healing. Sometimes I use this when I'm like run out of artifacts for Soul Weavers I want geared in Arena or something. And then this is just the attack version healing artifact, and this is the non-attack skill healing version artifact. So that is it for the tier list. Unfortunately, we didn't get any bottles this year. Hopefully, we do have more stuff coming up, right? Like we have the whole anniversary, so hopefully we get some bottles there.